Zarrukh Adashev is UFC winless no more, and he's looking to keep the roll going with a win over weight bully Ryan Benoit his last time out. For Adashev, the former long-time kickboxer, and this is a guy that was competing up multiple weight classes and winning titles back when he was a kickboxer. My favorite fight to go back and watch, he was 16-3 in that discipline, 10 wins by knockout. His fight against Jeffrey Then with Glory, where he throws a spinning back kick and knocks him dead, that's a lot of fun to watch.
Awesome.
I like Bazooka Joe Valtellini because he's Canadian. I like Todd Grisham because he has fun. He just has fun.
Get out of there, Travis!
That happened when we were there in Halifax. But really, references
How much money did he have on that fight? Because just from his voice, it sounds like he had the house on Travis Brown.
It was a short time but a good time when Todd Grisham did UFC fights. But for Zarrukh Adashev, in MMA, it's weird, right? Level competition over with Bellator. He beat 0-2 Ron Leon back in 3 years ago. Then he took on Tevin Dice, who was 3-1, and it was a back and forth fight, but he does get the finish at the end. Then he fights Tyson Nam on short notice and loses by knockout very quick, misses weight. Fights Zhumagulov and gets outstruck in a discipline that he should be a specialist at. And then he beats Ryan Benoit in a fight that really captivated audiences because it was a 3-3 fighter beating a guy who had a semi-decent level competition in the UFC. And now Zarrukh Adashev goes on to take Ode Osbourne, former bantamweight, now flyweight, who's had mixed results in the UFC. And this is such a weird fight, man.
It is, but I gotta be honest, I'm fairly excited for it. Because out of Ode Osbourne, I don't watch his fights and think, oh wow, how's this guy gonna get into the top 5 of the division? I just like watching him fight.
Conor McGregor does. And it should be noted, this is an Ode Osbourne card and not a Conor McGregor card. Continue.
Sure. The thing about Ode Osbourne, though, is he is a really good long-distance striker. But again, he's one of these fighters who he kind of proves that reach is a benefit and also a disadvantage. Like, reach people look at and think, oh, if you have a longer reach, it's immediately beneficial. It's not. Reach is just a statistic about yourself, and that's it. It comes down to how you are able to use your reach. And for Ode Osbourne, if he's able to get his boxing combinations going with an opponent up against the cage, it basically looks like he's standing at the middle of the cage, hitting them from across the ring. That's how good his outside boxing is. But the problem is that when you're someone like he is, who does plant on his power shots and does throw some of those looping strikes, a faster striker on the inside is always going to be able to take advantage of you. And that's not even the only issue Ode Osbourne has. He is a very good striker offensively. He does have some liabilities, let's say, defensively. He can also get held down in a lot of his fights, too, and I don't think that's going to be that big of a factor against a guy like Zarrukh Adashev, who the comparison is almost like if Tyreek Hill just decided to play basketball. Like, he can still run, he's still fast, like, I'm sure some of the things translate, but it's not your sport, you know? And that's what it is with Adashev. He very much is a pure striker who is now just fighting in an MMA cage. It's not that he can't grapple, but let's be honest, it's going to be an issue for him against pretty much anybody at this level, and I'm really glad how you would explain that Zhumagulov fight, because that's kind of where I was going with it. I think you'll agree with me. The Zhumagulov loss was way worse for Zarrukh Adashev than the Tyson Nam one was. Tyson Nam hit him with a clean shot that could put down a horse. It could have knocked anybody out. Zhumagulov convincingly outstruck him round after round after round, and he wasn't just doing it with big power shots like you would expect from the bigger fighter. He was able to do it technically, and he was able to use his volume, and the thing I really liked out of Zhumagulov in that fight was he used his feet. He was able to use his footwork to really counteract the footwork of Zarrukh Adashev. Now, Zhumagulov doesn't really strike in the same way Ode Osbourne do. Physically, I would say, frame-wise, they're kind of similar. But Osbourne is a much more stationary target. So I do think he's going to be much more available to hit for Adashev than someone like Zhumagulov was in their fight.
Yeah, and if you look at Zarrukh Adashev, typically when it comes to his kickboxing, it kind of translates in his MMA fights. Good pressure, good lead right hook. He can follow it up with whatever the hell he wants because he's so compact for the division. And oh, by the way, he just happens to have that kickboxing lineage like an Israel Adesanya, like Alex Pereira, but it does translate well into his MMA fights. You saw that his last time out against Ryan Benoit. For Ode Osbourne, I love his win on Dana White's Contender Series over Armando Villarreal, where he's able to get the submission. I like his fight against Jerome Rivera, who we mentioned earlier on in this card. He fought Zhalgas.
For all the wrong reasons, Jerome Rivera did win. Talked about.
And Ode's last time out beat CJ Vergara, but let CJ back into the fight as it went on in the later stages of that one. So you look at the odds for this fight. Osbourne opened a sizable favorite of -280, -177 right now. For Adashev, the Lion open to +240, +145. So we're going to have a look at the Tapology votes. Surprised to us, they are to you. I'm going to say just based on record alone being 10-4 with no contest to 4-3, I'm going to say over under 70% Osborne.
I'll say under.
I'm going to say under. It's
Way
over. 1,302 total votes. 90% Osborne. 47% by decision. 41% by knockout for the 10% that have Zarrukh Adashev. 62% by decision. 22% by knockout. I think if Zarrukh Adashev beats Ode Osbourne, he knocks him out. That weight cut can't be easy for Osborne.
I don't know if he has to knock him out, though. I think we're both kind of thinking along the same lines, but I guess this is how I see this fight. I think it's going to be an awful fight. I think styles make fights 9 times out of 10, and I don't think stylistically these guys are going to make for a great fight. And please allow me to explain myself. Zarrukh Adashev is a very good striker, like you had said. Does he throw nearly as many strikes as you would like, though, from a pure striker? Not really. And he is someone who, maybe it's not all wasted movement, but he does like to move his feet quite a bit in his fights. I could see this being a fight where Osborne hits him with maybe a good shot in the first 15 seconds, and then Adashev just stays on his bike for a lot of it. Because Osborne does have a tendency to just follow his opponent. He's not great at cutting off the cage. And I think if he doesn't cut off the cage effectively, we're probably just going to see Adashev get on the inside, land a couple strikes, get back on the outside. I don't really expect a finish out of this fight. And even though the records are kind of deceiving, I'm going to pick Zarrukh Adashev just because stylistically, I think he can use his mobility to just stay out of the range of Ode Osbourne.
Yeah, like I'm right on the fence on this one. I like Ode Osbourne in terms of he has the submission abilities. Is his wrestling all there? Not necessarily. And Zarrukh Adashev, when you're a kickboxer, we talked about this in the past, bit us with Elise Reed when she took on really tough Sam Hughes. But when you're a kickboxer, all you're going to train more than likely is your takedown defense. For Zarrukh Adashev, it is what it is, but I think Ode Osbourne has that X factor to his game. But his striking leaves a lot to be desired. So we're split on the pick. Matt going with Uzbekistan's own Zarrukh Adashev. And I'm going to go with the Jamaican Sensation representing Pura Vida BJJ in Ode Osbourne. Let us know down below in the comments section who you have. I think this is going to be an interesting fight. We have some big time ones on the rest of this card. And in the main event, Volkov, Rozenstruik, a big time one at heavyweights. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say, let's get into it.